What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 49. A Cold Loss. Monday. Day 134. Team JPDE had just entered the mess hall for breakfast when Izuku Ruby yelled. Ruby then ran up to Deku and hugged him. Hi Ruby. What's with the bear hug? Deku asked. It's because I missed you, Ruby said. You saw me yesterday, Deku said. But I didn't get to give you my welcome back hug, Ruby said. Deku laughed. Thank you, Ruby. I'm glad to be back as well, Deku said. Deku then hugged Ruby back, causing her to blush. Weiss then walked up and hugged Deku. Weiss, Deku questioned. What? I missed you too. You've got a problem with that? Weiss asked. Nope. I've missed you too, Deku said. Blake and Young then joined the hug as well. Hey, I missed you, Green D. When do you think we can get hot and sweaty together? Young said. Never. We can spar though, Deku said. Good enough for me, Young said. Blake, Deku asked. Blake just remained silent, but she did have a small blush on her face. Okay Blake, Deku said. Blake smiled. Nora then ran up and tapped Deku's head, her chest being pressed against his head. Nora. Why are you in your gym outfit? Deku asked. I forgot to wash my other clothes, so I had to wear this, Nora said. And I know you like this outfit, Nora whispered, causing Deku to blush. Pyrrha then walked up and joined the hug. Glad to have you back, Izuku. I've missed you a lot, Pyrrha said. I've missed you too. I've missed all of you, Deku said. Team RWBY, Nora and Pyrrha all then blushed. We'll get you some breakfast, Jack said. Thanks, Deku said. What is that all about? David asked. Something we need to talk about, Evelyn said. And it should be sooner rather than later. After classes, Team JPDE and Titania were in the Beacon Garden. Alright, me, Deku and Titania are going to Vale to meet up with Bella, David said. We'll call Janara on the way there, in the Bullhead, Titania said. Alright. Me and Evelyn are going to work on her semblance, Jack said. Ozpin or not, it's better to have more instead of less in our arsenal, Evelyn said. And I will go to Papa's airship to speak with our prospective hacker, Penny said. By the way, Penny. If it's who I think it is, are you sure it's a good idea to ask her? Jack asked. Yeah. Wouldn't helping us be going against the rules or something? Evelyn asked. It would. But I know just the logical train of thought that will persuade her to assist in this endeavor, Penny said. I think I see what you're going to do, Penny. Just make sure this doesn't get back to General Ironwood. If any of the Yellow Brick Bunch find out, then Amber is truly a goner, Deku said. You have nothing to worry about. And one more thing before you go, Penny said. Iju, David. Please come back to our dorm once you're done. We need to have a talk, Evelyn said. A talk? What's it about? Deku said. We'll tell you once you get back. We don't want you to worry, Penny said. Well, not telling me is already making me worry, David said. Well, the faster you get done, the faster you'll find out. Now get going, Evelyn said. After returning from Vale, David and Deku went to their dorm room. So, what is it that you two wanted to talk about? David asked. In short, we need to have a talk about our relationship expanding, Evelyn said. Me and Evelyn have noticed that you, Izuku, have been receiving quite a lot of attention from the women around you, Penny said. I can't really deny that. Especially after what happened this morning, Deku said. So, are you too jealous that they'll steal him away from you too? David asked. Oh no. We're not jealous at all. Okay, maybe a little, but that's not it, Penny said. The both of us are okay with expanding our relationship, but we're not ready to accept the whole school. We're only ready for one more each, Evelyn said. I see. I respect your desires, but I don't think I could choose one now. I've become too close to them, I can't choose one of them as I would have led the others on, Deku said. We knew you would say that. So we're willing to try something, Penny said. Try what exactly, David asked. An open relationship, Evelyn said. Deku and David yelled. Did I hear you correctly? You want to try an open relationship, Deku asked. Are you too sure you want to do this, David asked. We are at least willing to try, for the sake of everyone who loves you, Penny said. But wouldn't it still be the same as leading them on, only that you can have sex with me but we're not lover? That doesn't seem fair, David said. Well, it's the only way we see that will solve this problem. However, it doesn't need to be sexual at all, it could be that they could ask for something else, like a date, but they won't part of our relationship, Penny said. I don't know, Deku said. So am I, David said. We're not sure either, but this has the best chance at making everybody happy. So, if you want to give it a try then we will, if not then that's that, Evelyn asked. I just have one question, what made you think of this, Deku asked. Well, there are a few students in our year who are either in an open relationship or someone in their family is, and things have been fine. In fact, if you two agree to this, I think it's best if we ask them for some advice, Penny said. That makes sense, we don't want to upset anyone, David said. So, what's your answer, Evelyn asked. I'm willing to try, David said. Okay. Ijuku, Penny asked. I'm willing to hear what they say, but if we go through with this, I have one request, Deku said. And what would that be, Evelyn asked. This applies to all of us, not just me. If you find a man or woman you like, then go for them, Deku said. Right, Evelyn said. That is acceptable, Penny said. Fine by me, David said. So, since we're all here and Jack isn't, Deku said. I don't mind, Penny said. I think Jack will appreciate that, David said. Let me get changed into something for the mood, Evelyn said. I'll do the same, Penny said. Penny and Evelyn then entered the bathroom, whilst David and Deku got ready for them to come out. Deku was heading to the amphitheater. Jack had asked him to bring her a towel as she had forgotten to bring one. Jack, I brought you your towel. Please don't turn me into a popsicle, Deku said. Huff. Thanks, Ijuku, Jack said. Jack then took the towel. Pretty good. I think I'm getting a much better grasp on it than before, Jack said. Pyrrha's tips were that good, Deku asked. Yeah. I don't know what kind of specialization she's aiming for, but I'd see her being a pretty good teacher, Jack said. Ditto, Deku said. Now, though, I think I hit a wall. I don't know how I'm going to get around this one, Jack said. What kind of wall, Deku asked. Well, training with water and drinks is all well and good, but at some point, I got to try it on live targets, you know, Jack said. I see. What about going to the Emerald Forest to practice on some Grim, Deku suggested. That's an idea, yes, but honestly, the kind of Grim you can find in it aren't exactly a challenge, Jack said. I suppose so. Can't expect to always fight a Walang, can we, Deku said. A Walang would be ideal, actually. Since I've been working on making my semblance more concentrated and less deadly, I need to experiment with the speed of it. Finesse. Can't exactly experiment something like that with something like a Boelf or an Ursa, Jack said. That's true. Would you like to spar with me? I think I meet the requirements of being a challenge, Deku said. I appreciate the offer, but I think Evelyn and Penny would kill me if you got seriously hurt. And besides, I won't be asking anyone anytime soon, I would prefer not to accidentally kill anyone, Jack said. Seems reasonable. Another time then, I guess, Deku asked. Unless I find someone else, I'll take up that offer, Jack said. Tuesday. Day 135. No semblance for carrots yet. But we will get there, Jack said. Unlocking a semblance, the normal way, is frustrating, after having one since I was a kid, Evelyn said. That reminds me. I need to test whether I have a semblance now. Jack could tell me in detail what happened. The more information I have, the better chance of figuring it out, Deku said. Why don't we leave it till tomorrow? We can test during combat class, Jack said, blushing. All right, Deku said. Is something the matter, Jack? Your face is all red, Penny said. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Anyway, how did the first charge with Bella go, Jack asked. Pretty well. She's still afraid that I will recoil in disgust whenever I touch her. Nor that I blame her. And since we're on the topic of semblances, I will probably skip a charge tomorrow to train and see what her inspiration is like, David said. Semblance training it is then. I guess we should request to use the amphitheater tomorrow then. Also, Titania, how did the call with Janara go, Jack asked. As well as it could have gone, Titania said. Yesterday. Janara. Are you there, Titania asked. I want to help, Janara said. I know you do, Titania said. I want to help right now, Janara said. Yeah, no can do. We're still not ready, Titania said. I want to crash another Drago in that school and make it dig up Amber, Janara said. That's probably kill her in the process, Titania said. I want to do something. I can't just stay here and wait, Janara said. Sadly, that's all you can do. Other than think, Janara, Titania said. Think about what, Janara asked. Right now, we have a plan to cure her and we're working on how to gain access to the vault where she's at. Last thing we need to think about is how to get in there unnoticed, Titania said. I have no idea how to make that happen, Janara said. Which is why I said we need to think about this. You want to save Amber? We do too. But exactly because her life is at stake here, we cannot rush into this blindly, Titania said. I understand, Janara said. Back to the present. She's more angry than sad, though. She'll pull through, Titania said. Hopefully. We'll need all the help we can get. And speaking of help, how did it go with our prospective hacker, Penny, Jack asked. Penny said. Yesterday, Penny and gone to talk with Seal. What? Did you just ask? Seal asked. Well, I figured it'd be only logical. If the Atlas army is so fearful about my battle prowess, they certainly wouldn't fight proverbial fire with more fire, by creating an equal of mine. Hence, I'm 99% positive that your talents lie in code. Ergo, you should be more than ideal for such a task, Penny said. That's not what I meant. You just asked, Seal said. For your help in saving a friend. A friend that, while you may have not met so far, was also instrumental in our escape from the Barito forest. Professor Peach's semblance may have created the napalm, but who do you think placed it in such strategic positions and then ignited it? Penny asked. I get it, but you can't possibly ask me to hack into a system developed by the Atlas military for one of General Ironwood's most trusted allies with a straight face. It's against any protocol and duty, Seal said. I'm conscious of that, but Seal, not helping us in this endeavor would go against your prime directive, Penny said. Excuse me, Seal asked. What's your prime directive, Seal? Penny asked. Stopping you. In case you go rogue, Seal said. Indeed. Would you say that prevention of such eventualities is also included in the list of your duties? Penny asked. Obviously, Seal said. Well, the hacking request is a part of a bigger plan to try and save our friend covertly. The vault has only one access and is otherwise protected by meters of earth, concrete and possibly metal, Penny said. If we can't do this subtly, we will be forced to use more drastic measures, Penny said. You wouldn't, Seal said. I would. And I will, Penny said. Do you realize the kind of confrontation you would force? Seal asked. The confrontation would be forced the moment we fail to go about this secretly, Penny said. The risk. The risk you would take, what could happen, Seal said. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Everyone else already undertook similar risk, foolishly or not. Evelyn, Jack, Izuku and David all risked their lives to help someone else. David almost killed himself. And while I hate for anyone to have to come to resort to something so drastic, I'm 100% ready to do everything in my power for the sake of my friends, Penny said. There was a long pause before Seal responded. You're right. Not helping you would go against my prime directive, Seal said. I'm sorry to force your hand, Seal, Penny said. And letting you, making you go to the same extremes they went to, after I chastised him, would make me feel like the biggest hypocrite in the world, Seal said. Thank you, Seal, Penny said. Back to the present. As calculated. Seal has agreed to help us, Penny said. Well, I'll be damned. Did you see a secret gynoid handshake or something, Evelyn asked. Something like that. Still, she told me that while Vale's network in general is easy to access, the systems in the school are much more secure, especially for the tower, Penny said. So it's going to take time. It's fine, we have all our own tasks, David said. Jack, David, and Deku were heading into Vale. They were currently walking through the garden on the way to the Bullhead Landing when a starper voice yelled. The three stopped in their tracks, and turned around to see Nebula running up to them. Finally. Found you. Oh gods. Out of breath, Nebula said. Nebula, Jack questioned. And you? Hi, you said, walking up. Hello, I guess, David said. Hi. Why were you in such a hurry, Deku asked. Couldn't miss the window of opportunity. My chest hurts, Nebula said. Maybe take a knee and breath very deeply. You're starting to look a little purple, there, Jack said. Always purple. We'll have time later to, Nebula said, gasping. Dew then knocked Nebula down and stepped on her. Calm down, Dew said. Dew, please. Our Nebula said. Team NDGO is definitely different from what I thought they'd be in person, Jack thought. Breathe first, Dew said. Nebula the breathed in and out. Good, Dew said. Dew then stepped off Nebula and she stood up. Okay. All right. I'm calm now, Nebula said. I sure hope so. What's exactly the problem, Nebula, Jack asked. The problem is that I've been a terrible excuse of a human being. When we first met I didn't even try to ask for your names, Nebula said. That's it, Jack, Deku and David asked. What do you mean that's it? That was terribly rude of me. People usually introduce themselves when they first meet, don't they, Nebula asked. Well, I guess, but that's not a rule. Look, anyway you can call me Jack, Jack said. I'm Izuku Midori, Deku said. Nebula. Yay, I did it. And it's nice to meet you, Izuku. I've heard quite a bit about you from Gwen, Nebula said. I see. So is that all? We kind of have some place to be, Deku said. Oh. Sorry for keeping the three of you. I'm so sorry, Nebula said. Calm down. We're only going into Vale for some shopping, nothing important, Jack said. Oh. Still sorry for keeping you, Nebula said. It's fine. If that's all then we'll see you two later, Jack said. Actually, there is one thing I want to ask, Dew said. What is it, David asked. Your team is a team of 5, isn't it, Dew asked. Yeah, Team JPDE has 5 members, Jack said. What? But Hunter Academies always have teams of 4. How come you're a team of 5, Nebula asked. Special circumstances, which is also the reason why we joined Beacon at the start of the second semester, Deku said. No way. How did you even get in? Nebula asked. I bet it's because they are crazy strong. Especially you, David Dew said. Dew, give it a rest, already. Don't you remember that he's an amateur? Nebula said. An amateur who knows how to use a whip? Dew said. You know, she does have a point there, Nebula said. How? David said. A whip is a pretty complicated weapon to handle. And if you can use it properly in battle, you can't exactly call yourself an amateur, can you? Nebula said. As mentioned, there were special circumstances. And while David may not be an amateur with his weapon, he hasn't had the years of training you two have. You'll win before the fight even starts, Jack said. I'll hold back then. I want my duel, Dew said. Damn, you don't give up, do you? Jack asked. David groaned. Listen, I really don't think I'd be a good match, at all, David said. It's fine. I still want my duel, Dew said. Okay, listen. Let's make a deal. I can't let you terrorize David, here. So what about you fight me, first? So I can evaluate you, Jack said. So you want to fight Dew? Nebula asked. Yes, but warning. My semblance is potentially lethal, Jack said. It's fine. So I can duel him if I beat you? Dew asked. That's not exactly what I said, Jack said. Then if I fight you and Ijuku at the same time, can I fight him then? Dew asked. How? Deku said. Not really what I was thinking, but sure, Jack said. I'm not sure that'll be a fair fight. Nebula, you want in? Deku asked. Sure. How about we fight once you get back from Vale? Nebula said. I don't think that'll be possible. We have quite a bit of shopping to do. It may be too late when we get back, Jack said. That's fine. We can fight another day. I can wait longer, Dew said. Actually, Jack, Deku, I'll go complete the shopping. You two can go and fight Dew and Nebula, David said. Huh? You sure? Jack asked. Yeah, I'll be fine. You four can go have your duel, David said. Thank you, David. I'll stop pestering you about the duel and wait for you to come to me as thanks, Dew said. Oh, so you think you'll win? Jack asked. I know I will, Dew said. We'll see about that, Jack said. The four then headed to the amphitheater whilst David went into Vale. Hours later, David had finished the shopping and decided to go for a swim in the pool. As he entered, he noticed that it was quite chilly. At first, he thought it was the air conditioning, but that's when Jack questioned. David then saw Jack and Deku in the sauna. Jack had her jacket off and ice was around her. Deku was holding his hands close to her. He could see that his gauntlets had been infused with fire dust. Jack. Gods damn it, you scared the hell out of David said. Hey David, Deku said. David then noticed that the both of them had a few injuries. What the hell happened to you two? You, David said. We look like crap. Right, Jack asked. Those injuries, the eye. Why isn't Aura healing them? David asked. Why do you think? Jack asked. You're out of aura, David asked. And what little I recover goes to my semblance, Jack said. And I haven't given her any of my aura because I'm completely out of aura as well. We came in here to try and get her semblance under control, Deku said. How? How long did the duel last? David asked. Long enough, Jack said. Why did you prolong it that much? Semblance and quirks or not, you two didn't need to go that easy on them, David said. Did not, Jack said. What? David asked. We did not, okay, Jack yelled. We'll talk about this later. Right now, we need to get Jack's semblance under control. Could you go get more fire dust please? Deku said. Right, David said. David then left. Deku then placed his hands on Jack. Izuku. What are you doing? Jack asked, blushing. Making sure the last of this dust counts, Deku said. Jack sat in silence, her face going red as Deku ran his hands on the body. Though it was very embarrassing, a part of Jack felt it was nice. Meanwhile in the amphitheater. Oh, wow, they got us good, Nebula said. Arju said. We need to go to the infirmary for our injuries. Dew, did you really have to go all out? Go at her that much? Nebula asked. If I hadn't, I would have lost. And I don't lose, Dew said. That's true, but you could have left Izuku to me. I had it under control, Nebula said. No, you didn't. If I hadn't stepped in, you would have lost, Dew said. You're right. Now let's go see Miss Bo, Nebula said. Back at the pool, Jack had finally managed to get her semblance under control. Dew wasn't even interested. Even after seeing my semblance, she didn't react to it as anything more than another treat for her to deal with, Jack said. Nebula is a different story. She was struggling against me, but after Jack lost, Dew came in and dealt with me quickly, Deku said. I guess they must have seen and encountered some pretty out there stuff during their career. Still, I can't believe you two lost, David said. Everyone will lose one day. It's just a matter of time. We'll get our own back, Deku said. I've never lost to anyone or anything before. Ever, Jack said. And how does that make you feel? David asked. How do you think? Jack asked. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't have the pride you have in your skills, nor Penny's desire to prove herself, Evelyn's taste for messing with people, or Deku's drive to save others. I just fight because I have to. So I wouldn't know how losing and being glossed over makes you feel, Jack, David said. You're right. Well, it makes me feel sad and frustrated and angry. If I had to make a comparison. Remember how you felt when Coco was about to leave you and double team Penny with Velvet? Acting as if you weren't worth her attention anymore, Jack asked. Yes, I remember that. So many different emotions, aimed at her and myself, David said. Pretty much, yes. The feeling of not being good enough, Jack said. Man. Losing sucks, David said. It does. It always does. But without losing now, you won't grow into a better fighter, and you'll lose when it really matters, Deku said. Izuku is right. Lose is a fuel you can use to make yourself better. And what would you say if I told you that? I want a rematch, Jack asked, blushing. Of course, you do. I've already promised Penny and Evelyn that I'll take part in the Vital Festival if needed. What's one more? David said. That's good. Because next time I'm going to stick my foot so far up her bloody rectum, she's going to taste soul for a week, Jack yelled. Wow, Jack, you don't need to go that far. Isn't the Vital Festival meant to be a sport event, not a bloodbath? David said. Sorry. I just hate losing, Jack said. Speaking of the Vital Festival, will we be forced to play all members of our team at least once? It's not fair on other teams that we have a spar and can leave the worst teammate for our match behind, Deku said. You can just say my name, you know, David said. Maybe. But who really knows, Jack said. I hope that's not the case, David said. We'll find out about that later. Let's go back to our dorm, Deku said. Agreed. I can't wait to have a shower, Jack said. Nope, David said. What? Deku and Jack said. You two will go see Miss Bo before coming back. Those injuries may have healed, but it's best you have a proper checkup, David said. Alright. We'll go see her, Jack said. Jack and Deku then went to the infirmary. Hello, Nurse Bo, Jack said as they entered the infirmary. You two. Where have you been? Miss Violet and Miss Gale told me they got injured fighting you two. And considering how injured they were, you two should have come here straight away, Bo yelled. Shouldn't you not be shouting in the infirmary, Deku asked. Bo said. Deku and Jack laughed. We had to get my semblance under control first. If we didn't, the infirmary would have become a walk-in freezer. And besides, we have a support member on our team, Jack said. I see. Well, you two do look fine, but I'll give you both a checkup just to make sure, Bo said. That's why we're here, Deku said. Then please come this way, Bo said. The two then followed Nurse Bo and then she began to examine them. During the examination, Nurse Bo had Deku remove the top half of his jumpsuit. I hope I'm not overstepping, but how did you get these scars, Bo asked. The short answer is, my semblance, Deku said. Would you mind elaborating, Bo asked. My semblance is very powerful. It can cause significant injuries if I use too much power. When I first unlocked my semblance, I could only use all or nothing, and since I discovered it quite late, just before I entered my village's pre-hunter academy. And due to where I'm from, I had to use it whilst minimizing how much of my body I broke, Deku said. That sounds very reckless. Why did your teachers let you continue, Bo asked. Because out there it's killed or be killed. But over time I managed to start gaining control, but I still had to push myself beyond my limits several times, which caused enough damage to my arms that if I'm not careful, I could lose all function in them. And that's the reason I switched to fighting with my legs, Deku said. I see. I would like to take an X-ray to have a personal look, but since you know about the issue and it's quite late, we can do that another time, Bo said. Okay, Deku said. Now, just one more thing. Have you and your partners been practicing, Bo asked, a blush forming on her cheeks. Yes. We've been using protection. We've all been as safe as we can, Deku said. Good. And just so you know, there's plenty of protection available if you need to resupply, Bo said. How strong are the, Deku asked. Oh. I wouldn't know. Though from those who've used them, they haven't broken during the act, Bo said. I see, Deku said. Well, this concludes my checkup. You're free to go, Bo said. Thanks, Nurse Bo, Deku said. Deku then put the top of his jumpsuit back on and then left the infirmary and headed back to his dormitory with Jack. Wednesday. Day 136. I shouldn't have skipped on meditation. For the first time in years my mind is clear enough to actually focus. And I don't know how to do it, Evelyn said. Is unlocking a semblance really that complicated, David asked. It can be. Not everyone unlocks it in the heat of things, partner, Jack said. Yeah. Meanie. Cheater. You too, Aiju, Evelyn said. Hey. I haven't even properly discovered my semblance yet. Once I do, then you can call me a cheat, Deku said. No. You cheat now, Evelyn said. Most people just do it by working on their aura and... well, you know how you have to focus on the feelings you get from certain people for your inspirations, David. To unlock your own semblance, you need to focus on yourself. What you are as a person, Jack said. What I am as a person, David said. It's a psychoanalysis and a half, really. A semblance is to be symbolic of your real inner self, Evelyn said. And that's the reason why we believe Ijuku's semblance is one that helps others, Penny said. Speaking of, how's that going, Jack asked. It's slow going. I'm trying to allow Penny to use one for all, but it's not working, Deku said. There may be a condition that needs to be met, like my semblance, David said. Perhaps, Deku said. Maybe the condition is kiss, Evelyn said. Maybe you just need to focus more on it. Try meditating, maybe clearing your mind will help, Jack said, blushing. Maybe, Deku said. I'll help you with that, Penny said. Penny and Deku then walked away. Penny sat down on her feet and patted her lap. Izuku then laid down, his head resting on Penny's plump thighs. Lucky bastard, David said to himself. So a semblance reflects who you are, David said. I'd say you really want to make friends, Evelyn said. Heh, if you say so, David said. Although, if it's like that, why is it also able to kill the people I connect with, David thought. Mine is probably symbolic of how I'd wish for things around me to just stop. Because I hate seeing people I care about going away where I can't reach them, Jack said. And mine? I don't know yet. I don't even really know what kind of person I really am without that thing in my head, Evelyn said. Sounds bothersome. Want to talk about it, David asked. Definitely not. You're making it even harder to focus, mister, and that's usually my role. So shoo, Evelyn said. Alright. I'm going over there. Have fun, David said. David then walked off. Wait. Maybe. That's the point, Evelyn said. You got an idea, Jack asked. I think I did, Evelyn said. Meanwhile, with Penny and Deku. Do you feel anything, Izuku? Penny asked. Deku didn't respond. Izuku, Penny said. Penny then realized that Izuku had fallen asleep. Penny giggled. You weren't supposed to fall asleep, Izuku. Time to get up, Penny said. Penny then kissed Izuku, waking him up. Wakey Izuku, Penny said. Deku yawned. Oh, sorry Penny, Deku said. It's alright, Izuku. I know how much you like my thighs, Penny said. I can't deny that, Deku said. Would you like to, Penny said. Yes, Deku said before she could finish. Penny giggled. The two then stood up. So did you feel anything whilst meditating, Penny asked. No, did you, Deku asked. No, Penny said. Why is this so hard? I wish I had a voice in my head to help me, Deku said. But you do. Many voices, in fact, Penny said. You know what I mean, Izuku said. I know. Let's join the others. This period is almost over, Penny said. Guess I'll have another day of trying to figure out my semblance, Deku said. Deku and Penny then joined the others. Had a nice nap, Izuku, Jack asked. Sorry about that. Penny's lap is just so comfortable, Deku said. Lucky bastard. While we all worked hard, you got a nice nap, David said. Yeah. Why do you get to sleep on Penny's thick thighs whilst we had to do hard work, Evelyn said. Because life is unfair, Evelyn, Deku said. Speaking of. How did the semblance training go for the two of you, Penny asked. I managed to use Bella's inspiration, David said. And I figured out who I am and managed to unlock my true semblance, Evelyn said. That's great to hear. What are they, Deku said. It's a secret, David and Evelyn said. Of course it is, Deku said. I'll tell you this. Evelyn's semblance is very fitting, Jack said. I see, Penny said. Did you and Penny manage to activate your semblance, Izuku, David asked. No, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but nothing is working, Deku said. Maybe we're wrong about it being your semblance, Evelyn said. But then Jack would have quirk genes. It has to be Izuku's semblance, Penny said. Jack, what exactly happened? I know I forced my hair down your throat, but was there anything else that I did, Deku said. Jack's face then went red. Oh, you didn't force your hair down her throat, Evelyn said. Huh? What do you mean, Deku asked. Come on, Jack, tell the truth, Penny said. No, Jack said. Wait, so I didn't put hair down your throat. Then what did I do, Deku asked. Come on, Jackie, Evelyn said. We're waiting, Penny said. You kissed me. There. You kissed me and then I had access to One for All's power, Jack said. Oh. Oh. Jack, I'm so sorry, Deku said. It's fine. It wasn't really a kiss though. You planted your lips on mine and coughed blood and spit into my mouth, Jack said. That's still quite bad. Sorry again, Deku said. You did what you thought needed to be done. I can't be angry at you for that, Jack said. But we've established that DNA is how One for All is truly transferred. So nothing Jack ingested allowed the temporary power transfer, David said. Then it was the kiss, Evelyn said. No. That can't be it. If that was you and Penny would be able to use it, Jack said. Perhaps it was because it was a kiss with the intention of allowing you to use Ijuku powers, Penny said. That can't be it, Ijuku said. Only one way to find out. Getting kissing you too, Evelyn said, slapping Ijuku's and Jack's butt. Carrots, you better shut up or I'll turn you into rabbit stew, Jack yelled. Black tendrils then began to appear from Jack's arms and light blue lightning appeared around her body. What the, Jack said. Wait, that's it. Emotions are the key, Deku said. Emotions, Jack asked. Lariat said that Black Whip responds to anger. So since Evelyn made you angry you can use Black Whip, Deku said. Cool, Jack said. Just be careful. You can easily lose control of Black Whip. Also, I don't know how much of One for All's power you can handle right now, though thankfully it's enough so you won't explode, Deku said. You did not mention that, Jack said. The bell then went. I guess we'll have to continue this tomorrow, Deku said. Yes. Though let's leave Evelyn and Penny behind, Jack said. Hey, Evelyn and Penny said. Sorry. I meant distractions, Jack said. There's just one thing we need to do first, David said. What is it, Deku asked. We've got to give it a name, David said. What about power share, Penny suggested. Seem a bit too obvious. I want to keep my semblance on the DL, Deku said. All for All, Evelyn suggested. That has the same problem, Deku said. What about support, Jack suggested. That's perfect. It's vague to not reveal anything specific about my semblance, Deku said. That's the idea, Jack said. Now I just need to test it to figure out the finer details, Deku said. Indeed. How about we practice in our room tomorrow, Jack said. Hey. You can talk about your date later, I'm hungry, Evelyn said. Deku and Jack blushed. Alright. Let's go eat, Evelyn said. Team JPDE then left the amphitheater for the mess hall. Jack and Deku remained silent all through lunch and did talk to each other for the rest of the school day. Penny, Deku, David and Even were making their way to the room of Team CBLT. Penny had contacted Orium Pendragon, Blaze Akin, Cobalt Blue and Minor Juhong, and asked them if they would give them some advice about having an open relationship. They had agreed to meet today in Team CBLT's room. They arrived at Team CBLT's room and Penny knocked on the door. Hello, Penny, a boy wearing a white hoodie and jacket said. Hello, Cobalt. Let me introduce my partners. This is David Dik Begis, Penny said. Hello, David said. This is Ijuku Midoriya, Penny said. Nice to meet you, Deku said. And this is Evelyn Damarot, Penny said. Hi, Evelyn said. Hello everyone. It's nice to meet you. And it's good to see you again, Evelyn, though I thought you had magenta hair, Cobalt said. Huh? Have we met before, Evelyn asked. Yeah. We meet when you and Jack came to Vale after that Shiny Dust store robbery in Vale. Don't you remember, Cobalt asked. No, sorry, Evelyn said. It's alright. You were only here for a short time before you went back to Shade, though why are you now a Beacon student, Cobalt said. What are you talking about, Cobalt? Evelyn was never a student at Shade, Penny said. But Miss Goodwitch said you were from Shade, Cobalt said. That was just a cover story. Me and Jack actually work for Ozpin directly, but it's easier to say we were from Shade than explain what orphans are, Evelyn said. Orphans, Cobalt questioned. That doesn't matter, we're here for a different reason, Evelyn said. Right. Come on in then, Cobalt said. The four then entered Team CBLT's room. Guys, meet Izuku, David and Evelyn. Team PDDE, this my girlfriend and partner Blaze, and these two are Minor and Orium from Team Megai, Cobalt introduced. Nice to meet the team that has been giving me and Cobalt some competition, Blaze said. Blaze, Cobalt said. You're not competition, Evelyn said. Evelyn, Deku said. Who has more noise complaints, Blaze asked. You're only winning because you've been here longer. We'll soon surpass you, Penny said. Penny, David said. I swear you six are all the same, Orium said. What do you mean, Deku asked. A perverted girl and an innocent boy. It's like I'm seeing triple, Orium said. The six then looked at each other. I guess you're right, Cobalt said. So now that introductions are done, let's get down to business and talk, so T Minor said. Oh, hi Minor, Evelyn said. Hey Evelyn, Minor said. You know her, to Deku asked. Yep. We go quite the way back, Evelyn said. Deku then noticed that Minor had two furnace trays. Minor sighed. Yes, I two furnace trays. It's a real thing, Minor said. Ah, sorry, I didn't mean to stare, I just didn't think I would see another furnace with two trays, Deku said. You know another two-traded furnace, Minor asked. Yeah, she's a huntress that comes by my village sometimes, her name is Rumi Usajima, she has rabbit ears and a tail, Deku said. Oh, I see where you get your taste in rabbit furnace, Minor asked. No comment. Deku said. You interested in feline furnace, Minor asked. You sound just like Minor Ashido with your teasing, Deku said. Oh no. Not two Minors, Cobalt said. Is she a furnace as well, Minor asked. Yep, she has horns, and she has pink skin, but her pink skin is due to her semblance, Deku said. Do you not know what furnace she is? There are many furnace with horns, Minor said. I never bothered asking, didn't see a reason to. Nor did I bother to ask Shuji if he was a squid or octopus furnace, Deku said. You know quite a few interesting furnace, Minor said. I guess so, Deku said. Don't let him get too interested in you, or you'll end up in his notebook for him to analysis you, David said. I wouldn't mind being drawn if you drew me in the nude, Minor said. Deku's face went completely red. Hey, watch yourself, Izuku can only draw me and Penny naked, Evelyn said. That might change soon though, Minor said. Let's start talking before we date her again, Orium said. Right. We're here to get advice from your experience with open relationships. Let's start with your experiences with open relationships, Penny said. Right. Well, me and Blaze had been dating for a year when we decided to open our relationship, Coblat said. We didn't get bored of each other. We just came to realize that there's a lot of attractive people at Beacon and our eyes began to wander. So we decided to allow each of us to have 5 other partners, Blaze said. Me and my boyfriend are often far away from each other, so we couldn't satisfy each other. So, we decided to have an open relationship. We still love each other very much but needs do call, especially for me at a certain time of year, Minor said. My situation is a bit different. My parents are in a poly and open relationship. My dad has 2 wives, which is the reason why I'm related to Jan. But all 3 of them can pursue someone else if they like them, Orium said. Wait. You're related to Jan, David asked. Yes, I'm related to Jan, though not by blood, as my birth mother isn't related to them. Also, Joan, my second mom, is his aunt, Orium said. I see. I'm surprised Jan or Madonna hadn't said anything to us about it, Deku said. Ah, I see you've met Jan's mom, Orium said. Not just met, we saw her wrath when she finally found Jan, David said. Orium laughed, So, how do you, not let an open relationship cause your relationship with each other break down? Evelyn said. Well, an open relationship is just like a close relationship, only that you have other partners. If you're honest and communicate with each other and with those who you want to pursue, you should have no trouble, Blaze said. Should have, Penny asked. Well, I do admit I'm a bit territorial of Cabot. That can cause some trouble if someone gets on my bad side, but in his trousers, Blaze said. I see. I'm quite territorial of Iju and David. Especially David after an incident, Evelyn said. An incident? Cabot asked. I was a victim of attempted sexual assault, David said. Oh. Yeah, I can see why, Mina said. It wasn't really her fault. Her mind is kind of scattered and she has apologized, but I'm still wary of her, Evelyn said. Well, apart from that, I'd say you are part way there. You've made a poly relationship work so far. The next step is testing with another partner, Cabot said. I suppose so, but who are we going to ask? I don't want to ask someone I'm close to in case we decide not to open our relationship, but I can't ask a stranger, Deku said. Well, me and Cabot could be your test partners. I've wanted to experience what makes you two scream so hard, and I'm sure Cabot would like to have two bust-thick women cut off his air supply, Blaze said. Team PDDE and Cabot blushed. Blaze, Cabot yelled. You know I'm telling the truth, Blaze said. I wouldn't mind being a test subject, as long as you breed me so hard I can't walk, Mina said. Definitely not allowing you to fuck my Iju, Evelyn said. That's not up to you, Mina said. Thanks for the offer, but it may be a while, if at all, if we go through with this, David said. Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find us, Mina said. They continued to talk for a while, getting to know each other more before parting ways. Team PDDE had learned quite a lot from them. Even if they weren't going to go through with it, the information could still be useful. Deku had decided to go to juniors. It had been quite a while since he had worked there, and, in that time, David had gotten into an incident and gotten himself banned. Deku thought he should go apologize about not telling them about the incident. As Deku entered the club, he noticed the place seemed weirdly quiet. It was still as packed as usual, but there was a certain stillness to it all. Deku then saw Melanie and walked up to her. Hey, Melanie. What's going on? Why is it so quiet? Deku asked. Ijuku, Melanie said. That's my name, don't wear it out, Deku said. Come with me, quick, Melanie said. What the? Deku said. Shut up, keep your head down and do not do anything to stand out, Melanie said. What's going on? Deku asked, as Meline dragged him across the club. Trouble, that's what Melin said. I assure you that's not the case, Milshia said. Isn't it, young lady? Because from what we have gathered, it seems like the incident that happened involved an aura user of an age compatible with one of our students, Glinda said. First of all, Miss Goodwitch, I'm not one of your students, so you'll forgive me if I ask you to not treat me like one, Milshia said. No longer one, you mean, Glinda said. Second, if there had been any proof of a student of Beacon being involved in the fight or implied here, you wouldn't be here questioning us. You'd be here with the police, Milshia said. So you would have me believe that a young person trained in the use of aura just happened to waltz in here and get offered a job, Glinda asked. Wouldn't be the first time, Milshia said. I'd like to speak with this person, Glinda said. Sadly, they don't work here anymore. After the incident, we had no choice but to ban them from juniors, Milshia said. And what about the security guard that had aura and was around the same age, Glinda asked. They were on a gap year making their way around the world. They needed Leon, so they worked here for a bit, but they are gone now, Milshia said. I see. Nothing to it, then. Consider this a courtesy visit, then, Glinda said. Glinda then left. Why was Miss Goodwitch here? Deku asked. She was here for you and your friend. Or better, She was here because she suspected 2 students of Beacon were employed here, Melin said. Why would she care, Deku asked. Because it's illegal for students of Beacon to work in these kinds of establishments, even part-time. And she's the one who pushed for that law to be passed, Melin said. What, Deku asked. It's a long story. Anyway, she's going to be watching this place like a hawk. Which means we need a plan, Melin said. Well, I have one, but unfortunately it relies on a couple of incognites. First of all, we need a tailor who can keep their mouth shut. I don't want a repeat of the trap night incident, Milshia said. A tailor? Well, my girlfriend is a tailor, Deku said. Huh. That's convenient, Melin said. Well, tell her she's got a job. We got enough accessories. The other incognita is yours and David's acting ability, Milshia said. My acting ability, Deku questioned. Alright. Listen well and listen closely. If you and David want to keep working here, Melanie said. After a while Deku returned to Beacon and told David and Evelyn what happened. So? Think you can do it, Deku asked. This is one of the bestest things I've ever been asked to do in my life, Evelyn cried. Hold on though, why do you still want to work there even though it's illegal, David asked. Because I feel partly responsible for what happened, and they still need help with security, Deku said. I see, David said. End of chapter 49.